Hello and welcome to SquishiVision, where I'm about to give my immediate reaction to Ms. Marvel. Immediate reaction? Instant reaction? Immediate reaction? What do I normally say? Anyway, this is my reaction. I've just literally finished watching it, so this is kind of how I felt straight after. Not a chance to kind of go through and like scrub up the details, but also I'm streaming on my phone, which is why it's a bit weird, because my laptop is bricked, so just a bit of a explanation there. But anyway, I don't know much about Ms. Marvel from the comics, apart from the fact that she is a fan of Captain Marvel and that she's a Muslim character. And that second part is enough to get me very much intrigued. So if you watch my kind of trailers leading up to this, I was really hyped up. I was very excited about the Muslim representation because, you know, it's piss poor, to be frank, especially in Western media. Even when you have, you know, Muslim characters front and center, they're rarely played by Muslims, or they're written by Muslims, they're written by Muslims. And I don't know the faith of the writers and the director, but I do know that the actress who plays Ms. Marvel here does come from a Muslim background and comes from a Pakistani background. So you know, there's points already there. But yeah, so I was excited. Also with some degree of skepticism, because I have to be, you know, I've been disappointed before with Muslim representation, so kind of, yeah. But that was my kind of attitude coming into this. I really wanted this to kind of do like a really kind of accurate portrayal of what it is to be a Muslim, not just a Muslim who is, you know, also part of a Western culture, because that's topical. So I was excited to see where this goes, and I was hopeful, and I think so far it's doing well. It's doing okay. I mean, I was already kind of like sold on the show before the before the title card came on, because Kamala Khan was 100% relatable as a YouTuber who's extremely passionate, extremely enthusiastic, and like has between 0 to 5 views on her videos. And I'm like, hey, that's me! Don't at me like this so soon. Someone who is extremely passionate about the kind of visuals of the content they create and only has like 0 to 5 views. Although, to be quite honest, if someone created that level of content that Kamala does for videos, there's no way she'd only have 5 views. She would have like hit the algorithm straight on. But we'll pass through that. Let's talk about the thing that's most important to me: the representation of Islam, representation of Muslims. I think it is. I'm gonna rate it. Okay, every time we do this, I'm gonna start with a rating of where I think we're at. We'll track this down. I don't usually do ratings. I'm not rating the quality of the show, characterization, plot, nothing like that. I'm gonna rate how I feel in my heart, in my soul, what the representation of Islam is in Ms. Marvel at any given time. A kitten has found an insect of some sort. Eat it. That's like, you're literally here for pest control. Okay, anyway, enough waffling. At the moment, my soul is saying I should come up with some sort of humorous like rating system. I don't know. 8 mosques out of 10. Whatever. At the moment, we're 8 out of 10. Let me talk about what the particular things identified which drop it down from perfect or you know, top quality. And then we'll talk about we'll kind of talk about what went well. This is kind of a great point. Maybe this is 8.5, should we say? Because this is a kind of a great point. I did think the what was his name, Amir, who his whole like kind of over enthusiastic faith, shall we say, over enthusiastic expression of faith, to the point where his own family telling him he's being too religious. I was kind of off put by. I was like, well, this seems very much kind of like tell don't show, but he's a Muslim character, but like, because what we're going to do is one thing that I don't like when they have Muslim characters is that that's all they are. They like, you know, they sprout Islamic expressions. They just say Islamic phrases, and they just, their only character trait is they're Muslim, and that's like, well, no, we're people, I was kind of worried about, despite the fact you've got a diverse range of characters who are all Muslim, you guys still had one character whose only trope was he was a practicing Muslim. But actually, I kind of grade on it because he is getting married, and if it's actually one thing which is very much true, it's that Muslim men tend to come across as more religious when they're about to get married, or some of them do at least. So I guess I could headcanon, or maybe even it is actually canon that that's the case. Do you think? Excuse me. Do you think it's really minor? So maybe I should bump it up to a 9 as another half. But Muslims don't bet, so the whole thing about betting $10 about whether or not Kamala pass or not doesn't really work because Muslims don't bet. But I guess $10 is enough to say stack for a lot over. But that's pretty much it. Another kind of complaint I'll just pitch now, because this was something I discovered when I was doing my dissertation. It's a bit annoying that you have a show that is focused so much around a Muslim character and exploring what it means to be a Muslim in a Western culture. But you put things in the show which don't make it accessible to Muslims. It's very much the case that you have films like I'm gonna butcher the name of the title here because I used to keep doing when I was on this dissertation and correct myself. The Children of a Lesser God, I think, was the name of the film. The one with the sign language one, the one that was the sign language one. That sounds really problematic. The 1980 film. That had deaf characters in, and they spoke with sign language, or at least a lot of them did, and it was like some people were like, obviously that's quite a positive representation of deaf characters and characters speaking American Sign Language, and I'm like, well, and like it was, but other commentators also pointed out that this film wasn't made for deaf people. It was made for listening people. It had had no subtitles in it, but a lot of speaking characters who would speak to each other and not use ASL, and you'd always have every line of ASL spoken by another character. Kind of like it was a show that was made for listening people, still about deaf people. Or hearing people, I think is the phrase, sorry. Similarly, there was this part of this show where we see Kamala in a dressing room and we see, schoolgirls kind of in not nude, but like states of undress. And there is a part of the Islamic faith about kind of modest appearance, and also looking at other people and how you kind of, well, I guess what you look at. I mean, both of those things to some degrees like not definitively defined, but the point I'm trying to make is that it just seems odd that you would have that in a show when a lot of practicing Muslims wouldn't consider that to be appropriate, not to for things for them to see, because the idea behind, to explain to people who aren't Muslims, because I'm trying to explain it in a way, it makes sense to me, I'm trying to explain it in a way, the idea of being sensitive and dress is meant to be a very kind of private thing, and it's seen as impolite to look at someone with a certain so it's not that person shouldn't be undressed, it's that you should respect their kind of space when they're in that kind of state. So for them to show it to us when it's a show about Muslim characters kind of then makes it inaccessible to Muslims who hold that opinion, which is a large majority of us. That's my kind of only complaint there. It's like, well, if you're going to make a show about Muslims, make it accessible to Muslim audiences. But that's only like a small part of it. For the most part, the representation was like really, really good. And I think the representation was better on the cultural side than the religious side, because there's a distinction here. But I relate with so many things. Like, okay, let's just start with something that hit me so hard in the heart. The part where she's trying to ask her parents to let her go to Avengers Con. Also, I'm trying to work out if Iron Man was set in 2008, and then we're like 2024 and 25, 6-ish in the MCU, so it's like 18 years. I'm trying to work out if 18 years is too long a time for someone to have been like, we should make a convention out of this. I'm just saying, comics still exist inside the MCU already. The whole thing like Captain America, that whole culture was still already there. I don't know, just seems odd it took like 20 years for that to happen, but whatever. Anyway, when she's trying to ask her parents if she can go to Avengers Con, and she's like, don't you trust me? Her mum's like, no, I don't trust you. I'm like, I'm pretty sad I've had like conversation with my own mother when I've been trying to like convince her to let me have some independence. Like, that is like too relatable. That hit me. And then, yeah, like, a whole bunch of other things in the show was just, like, really relatable as well. The whole being dragged around to go shopping for a wedding, I can relate to so much. I mean, I can relate so much to Kamala Khan. I'm that person who constantly lives in a land of fantasy and has no real grounding for myself. That's why I make videos for YouTube when I have no viewers. I can definitely relate to the whole, you know, kind of feeling let down when I can't. Like, I would go on things like, I can't remember what it's called now, but there used to be this thing that some British children do at school where they go and they travel parts of the world. And I went to go do that. My parents didn't let me, although I am disabled, and part of that was because they were worried that I'd get injured from my disability, so I guess that's kind of part of it. It wasn't all to do with kind of the cultural reasons, but you know, I wouldn't. You know, and here's the thing, and I'm sure I'm hopeful the show doesn't go this route, because it's so easy. It's so easy when you tell a story about a Muslim character navigating, a Muslim youth even navigating life in a Western environment, that it's like them trying to break out of the restraints of their conservative family and feel liberated from their religion. And that's the easy, you know, the whole thing about how the Islamic culture, Islamic faith is something that you should be able to liberate yourself from, is such a Islamic antagonistic and orientalistic my cat's about to come join us, an orientalistic approach to storytelling around Muslim characters, and it's damaging and it's toxic. So I'm really hoping to not go that route. I'm trying to be clear. Like, for me, the struggle is that it's more a case of needing to, how do I word this? It's not a conflict. It's part of Islam is already about, you know, living in the neighborhoods, living in the community that you're living in, and it being accepted and tolerating, but not undermining your own faith values, and not undermining, because, you know, you should be allowed to be integral to your faith whilst also living in any given community. Like, Islam should be that universal. So it's you know, it's difficult because it's difficult because a lot of what we think is Islam is culture, and even stuff which is Islam, a lot of it has only ever been contextualized in one given culture. I think that's kind of the way I'm going to phrase it. So for those who are now living in like Western environments, it's like, well, Islam is compatible with Western environments. We just need to kind of figure out how without undermining our own faith. And I'm hoping that's a story they tell here, because I think that's a story that a lot of us who, you know, were born in, you know, I mean, it's a slightly different story for Kamala because she's American and I'm British. But it's the whole kind of having to live in the Western environment while being Muslim kind of thing. So I'm hoping that's the story they tell. But so far, kind of so much, and to be fair, it's weird. Kamala's family are much more accepting of things than my family were, in terms of kind of certain I don't think also I'm trying to remember the exact part of it now, but oh yeah, like I was gonna say, like I would have been in so much more trouble if I'd snuck in out of my house at night. I don't think I ever did. And if I did, I'm gonna miss it on YouTube. No, I didn't. But that conversation when she was asking him for the first time, that was so lit. But that's a conversation I have had so many times. with my parents, trying to let them convince me to go to places. Um, what else? What else about the show that I can comment on? But no, so far it's doing really well. I definitely can relate to a lot of the aspects. Yeah. Other than what I've already mentioned, um, visually, I love its use of lights. I've already seen people comment online that the way they showed the text messages by putting the words into the environment was like it was. I mean, it was very Sherlockian, but Sherlock-esque. But I really did like that. Um, I like how her band that's given her powers has come from her family, and I hope they explore that kind of Pakistani part of it too. I like how also they put a lot of like Pakistani culture front and center. Um, like yes, this is finally a show that Marvel's doing. I mean, let's ignore the fact that it's a corporation and it's a it's a capitalization capitalist appropriation of cultures in order to make money, and they're kind of appealing to that thing. Let's just ignore it because let's just enjoy things and ignore the problematic natures of it. Let's just also acknowledge it for a brief moment, because what kind of socialist would I be if I didn't? But I'm just loving how a lot of Marvel stuff that's coming out at the moment is very much about other cultures. And I'm hoping I see more of this that's going to relate to me. I mean, I'm sure there's a difference between being a British American and a British Muslim. I'm sorry, a British American Muslim and American Muslim and a British Muslim. Also, I really hope this show tackles Islam antagonism. I mean, I realize that some things have, but I feel like you can't have a Muslim superhero in America vigilante, which seems to be the direction it's going, being off the record kind of deal, and not talk about the fact that she's a kid growing up in a post 9/11 world where, especially in New Jersey. So I'm hoping that gets kind of explored as well. But yeah, the light used here, the visuals, the camera effect where they start dollying towards both Wilson and Kamala, and then a line appears in the middle, and the camera kind of then splits off to the two people. I'm like, I actually really wonder how they did that. I guess it's probably two different takes, split screened on each other. But that's a really, really good. That's a simple, but I'm sure complicated camera effect. I really like that. But I like a lot of the visuals. I like the. I mean, a lot of it is quite. Fault on Our Stars-ish, but no, I'm liking the visuals. Kamala just is like so relatable-ish. I mean, there's a different. I think there's a big difference between British kids and American kids, and American kids tend to be a lot more animated. I find, which it can often be off-putting to British kids, but she does embody that whole Disney teen drama personality, which I guess is her whole thing, because she is that kind of nerd character trope. That's her whole thing. What else can I say? Why would the bus close the door on her bike? What bus driver does that? Is that an American thing? British bus drivers never do that. It all seems very unsafe. It's not like it's a train. What else can I say? I am so. I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm maybe a bit more cautious, but I'm also being like, this is good. This is good. I'm enjoying this. It's going places. So yeah, that's my take on this. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a bit. The all-nighters that I've been doing for my coursework are still catching up with me, so I'm a bit out of it. So I guess we'll end it there because I'm running out of steam. But generally, I'm interested to see what's going. I'm liking the family dynamic. I'm just hoping they don't do that thing I mentioned earlier. That's what I'm a bit worried that they are going to. But I'm hoping because it's the right voices behind this that they won't. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'm going to work out how to end this stream. What does that mean? Stop. Watching, and I'm going to work out how to end this stream. What does that mean?